Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to be reading two chapters from The Unteachables. Chapter 29, Parker Ellis. It's worth all the hard work to see Mr. Kermit's face when he recognizes his car, brand new and so much better. Although how could it be any worse that when he left it, being shoveled up off the entrance to the parking lot? I tap on the glass and listen as the roar echoes off the front of the school building. Some cars purr like a kitten, but this one screams like a howler monkey. All thanks to the 585 horses under the hood. If it had a hood. Howler monkey. I saw that in a book a couple days ago. At first it looked like holy workmen, but I figured it out in record time. That's been happening faster and faster lately, thanks to the extra reading help Mr. Kermit has gotten me. And not just me. Ribbit helped every kid in our class. There's no way we would ever thank him enough for what he's done, but that doesn't mean we can't try. That's why we rebuilt this car for him, and it's why I have to use this science fair project to totally blow the judge's mind to save his job. Graham regards the large eggplant in her lap quizzically. I can't imagine why I brought this pocketbook, she complains. It doesn't match anything I wear. Please don't squeeze it, I request. It's the blue plate special at the local table tonight. And if I'm driving there better be farm business involved. At that moment, Kiana raises her arm and drops it. The high sign. I stomp on the gas. Even I'm shocked by the burst of acceleration as those 585 horses hurl us forward the breakneck speed. In a heartbeat, the others are far behind me in the rearview mirror. The feeling of raw power is so awesome that when we run out of driveway, I almost forget that I'm the one who's steering the car. At the last minute, I yank on the wheel and the thump onto River Street and fly down the block, tires barely touching the pavement. According to Jake, this engine should get us from 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. By now, we've got to be just about there. As we pick up speed, Raheem's banner unfurls and the car's old-fashioned radio antenna. I can see in the mirror fluttering in the spit stream behind us. The expertly painted words of the message we need to deliver beyond any other. Fire Ribbit? No way. My classmates are jumping up and down and cheering, so it must be open and readable. The adults aren't moving at all, which might be from shock. We didn't tell Jake or Miss Fountain about the banner part, and of course Mr. Kermit himself didn't expect any of this until a few seconds ago. He might even not know that he's Ribbit. Even everyone's gone. I screech down the corner to circle the block. That's the plan. A quick loop of the school, banner flying, and back up the driveway to stop at the judge's feet so they can examine this monster engine. Every inch of it built by us. By the time Graham is enjoying the ride, where are we going, kiddo? The senior center, like always? I reply, with a short detour to impress the judges. Judges? She echoes in a strange voice. Don't you mean firemen? No, Graham, they're judges, I explain patiently. This is a science fair project. She frowns. And who's going to put out the fire? That's when I spot tongues of bright orange flame in the rearview mirror, and I panic. The car's on fire. Graham is totally calm. No, it isn't, kiddo. It's that rag we're towing. The banner. I risk a glance over my shoulder, and she's right. The heat of the tailpipe has set fire to the bedsheet fabric we used to make the banner. Come to think of it, Jake mentioned that he filled the gas tank with racing fluid to get maximum performance for the judges. He said it burns totally hot. Yeah, no kidding. What should I do? If I stop, we won't win the science fair and Mr. Kermit will be gone. But how can I drive a car that's on fire? Well, technically, the car isn't burning, just the sheet attached to the radio antenna. Already Fire Rabbit, no way, is down to Fire Rabbit, no W. It looks like we want him to get fired now. That's the opposite of the message we're trying to send. I wheel around another corner, and since I can't stop, I speed up, flooring the gas pedal again. Maybe the wind will pull out the fire. Instead, it fans the flames. The banner whips from side to side, leaving glowing embers dancing in the air. The next time I look back, the honeysuckle hedge is ablaze. This is definitely not covered under my provisional license. Nice moves, kiddo, Graham cheers. I never knew you were such a good driver. All the months I've been driving Graham, since she doesn't notice my skills until I'm lying waste to the neighborhood. As I streak back towards River Street, I leave a line of smoldering bushes in the wake. Black smoke hangs in the air. Now the banner is down to Fire Rib, which sounds like an ad for a restaurant. All along the sidewalk, people are shouting and pointing and scrambling to get out of the way of the sparks. Breathing a silent prayer, I make the final turn onto River Street and streak up to the school's driveway. Even though this is a disaster, there's only one place to go, back to the judges. Remember, our project isn't the banner making 101. It's the internal combustion engine. And that part is working amazing. Suddenly, some guy in a suit steps up from the parking lot into the road in front of me. I slam on the brakes, sending the car into a skid. At the last second, the suit guy hurls himself out of the way, somersaulting through the flower bed. The car fishtails around and lurches to a halt right before the judges. Mr. Carstairs runs up with a fire extinguisher and puts out the burning banner with a sea of foam. All is left a single word, hanging from the antenna: fire. Like we didn't already know that. Half the science fair is out on the lawn, gawking at me in horrified silence. I say the thing I've been rehearsing all along. Ta-da! It doesn't go over well as I expected. Jake rushes to help Grams out of the car. The eggplant drops in the pavement and splits open. Miss Fountain comes for me. From the direction of the flower bed, the guy I almost hit marches up, red with fury under the layer of mud that cakes his face in expensive suit. Oh man, it's Dr. Thaddeus, the superintendent. Who's the driver? He rages. I'll have you arrested. You lunatic, how dare you? His voice trails off when he realizes he's talking to a kid. It's an awkward moment. None of the adults have the guts to say anything because most of them are teachers, and this mudball is their boss. The only person who speaks up is Graham. Who do you think you are? She storms at the stunned Mr. Thaddeus. You ought to be ashamed to yourself. A lowlife who hasn't got the sense to put on a clean suit. Where do you get off yelling at my grandson? My grandson. That's when she says it. My grandson Parker. Parker. She called me Parker. A lot of crazy things happened this morning, like when our banner caught on fire and the eggplant got ruined. And I almost killed the superintendent, obviously. But for me, today will always be the greatest day ever because Graham remembered my name. Chapter 30. Aldo. Just because you've got anger management problems doesn't mean there isn't plenty to be ticked off about. Second, the internal combustion engine finished second in the district science fair. It would have been better to finish 150th than to come so close to winning only to take an L. I don't care about the trophy. You can find that plastic junk in the dollar store, but we were hair away from saving Ribbit. Haha. And they gave first place to a bunch of dweebs whose teacher didn't even need saving. I barely remember the project. Some windmill thingy. No one's ever going to forget ours. Definitely not the fire department, who had to spray down all the bushes and trees because of the containment, whatever that means. Miss Fountain tries to make us feel better. You can't take this so personally, she tells us on Monday morning. Your project was just as good as the wind turbine. But clean power is very hot these days. Hot, I echo. We set the whole street on fire. How could it be hotter than that? She's patient. I mean popular. People care about the environment. Your project is wonderful, but internal combustion engines are so last century. How do you think everyone got to get to the science fair? Barnstorm challenges. They drove their engines there. I bet no one came in a wind turbine, Elaine as her usual rumble. Miss Fountain just sighs. I can't be mad at her. She wanted this every bit as much as we did. It was Ribbit who showed me that teachers aren't always the enemy, even when they make you do the work or yell or take away your ribbit butts. If it wasn't for Ribbit, I never would have heard of where the red fern grows, which I'd be done with by now if I didn't stop enjoying to work on the science fair. I can barely picture my life before I knew about Billy, Old Dan, and Little Ann, who feel like real people to me, except Old Dan and Little Ann, who are dogs. Poor Mr. Kermit, says Kiana. I can't believe we let him down. I don't want any more of that kind of talk, Miss Fountain lectures sternly. You didn't let him down, just the opposite. He's prouder of you than he ever has been of any class, and he loves his new car. Then how come he's afraid to drive it home from the science fair, Miato said. That was just because of the racing fuel, she explains. Once Jake drained all that out and put in regular gas, Mr. Kermit was fine. He has the cutest nickname for it. He calls it the Cocoa Nerd. Isn't that adorable? Miss Fountain thinks a lot of things are adorable. That's not my style. Maybe Voldemort is a lizardy kind of way, and Old Dan and Little Ann, although I never met them in real life. Anyway, Ribbit might be psyched about his car, but he isn't psyched enough to come to school today. Even worse, our sub turns out to be the Dawn of the Dead again. To be honest, she's not as mean this time around. Some of that might be because we're so depressed about losing Ribbit that no one has the energy to give her much of a hard time. We drop a few textbooks, but our hearts aren't into it enough to get the timing right. Who can buzz out a fake power hum when the best teacher in the world is getting shafted? And could have helped, but you failed. We deserve Dawn of the Dead. We deserve someone who's meaner than her. I can't picture who that would be. Miato probably knows. When she tells us to work, we don't argue with her. We don't groan or complain. We don't even goof off. I'm just happy to get back to old Anne and little Anne. It might take my mind off Ribbit and how we blew it for him. Dawn watches us for a few minutes, and then she sighs and says, all right, let's hear it. We stare at her blankly. Come on, she persists. Something's eating you, all of you. Tell me what it is. It's like a dam breaks and we all start jammering at the same time. Our teacher's getting fired for no reason at all. It's not fair. That jerk Thaddeus hates Mr. Kermit. He's worse than the Dementors. I should have run over him when I had the chance. It goes on, and we never run out of complaints about how awful and unfair it is. It's the first time I've ever been in class where everyone else is just as mad as I am, and we can't all have anger management issues. Sometimes mad is exactly what you're supposed to be. The amazing part of Dawn of the Dead doesn't chew at us or shut us down. She listens, which can't be easy with all seven of us yelling over each other. And then she has a long conversation with Miss Fountain, who comes to see what the racket is about. The two of them are in a hall talking about what seems like forever, and finally the substitute walks back into the room and faces us. Well, it seems as if I misjudged you young people. She's wrong about that. Anything bad she thought about us last time goes double, because we had the opportunity to help Ribbit, and we came up empty. 2 more chapters tomorrow. Thursday, 31, Mr. Kermit, and then the last chapter is called 32, Kiana. So they did. Oh, I'm so disappointed. They didn't win the science fair. So they didn't get the extra points. So does that mean he's still leaving? I don't want it to end on a sad note. I want it to be a happy ending. But sometimes books end on sad notes. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.